Hey there, welcome back to the Mothcast, a podcast about video games and how a couple of moths feel about them. The game for episode 24 is called Gone Home, a walking simulator type mystery game about, well, going home. Take off your rain boots and coat, and let's get into the podcast. All right, so the game this week is called Gone Home.
Gone Home.
Gone Home.
Yes.
Gone
You know.
Home is it's another in the long line of walking simulators.
Yeah, we have been doing those a lot, haven't we?
Well, I mean, whether intentionally or unintentionally, I mean that's what we've been given basically.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
Walking
I don't
simulator.
mind.
It is.
I don't mind the walking
The
simulator like
it
genre.
really was a walking simulator too. You couldn't run. You couldn't even
Yeah.
like jog. You had to walk.
You just kind of moved around at a regular
As
pace.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. You wouldn't really want to run inside the house anyway.
I don't know. I feel like there are certain points you might want to run.
I mean, not for this game. It's not really a horror game. I
No.
repeat, it is not a horror game.
um Yeah, so Gone Home is a story summed up in like this is like as close to a graphic novel as you'll get
Yeah, pretty
in
much.
like interactive form. Um it's a story about a girl who is abroad.
Yeah, she went to
She was
various
traveling to
places.
Europe, going through various cities in Europe, and then
Mhm.
she basically came home.
I think it was just vacation, yeah, or something.
Yeah, it was just
She was just
vacation. I mean,
traveling,
she was out for,
just doing whatever,
a couple of months, I suppose.
traveling abroad.
Um, and so she came home and she finds her home to be completely empty. And she's like, what's going on here? And essentially, this story is her, like, the game is figuring out, like, why there's nobody at home.
Why there's nobody home, yeah.
The whole, her
It's
home
like a
is
very
empty.
rainy, stormy night,
Yeah.
and you just start inside the, like, foyer of the house,
Yeah.
or, like, I don't know, it's like the door before the door.
Yeah. Well,
It's like
I don't know if it's like a
like a
front porch or if it's like a
an
mud
enclosed
room.
porch, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like a
Something.
mud room is a more accurate term.
You find the key under the Christmas duck. It's very important. Good old Christmas duck.
I feel weird because I actually like walked right over to it, clicked on that specific place, and like immediately found it. And I'm like,
I
this is
did
gonna
the
look
same.
like I knew exactly where this was. I didn't
I
check
did the
any other
same.
place. I just
Nope.
checked there.
I literally the first thing I did was I looked down at my bags because she traveled. You look down at your bags. I didn't even look in my inventory. I didn't even know I had an inventory.
Yeah, no, it's not really
I
important.
literally the first thing I saw was that little side table and went over there. I'm like, oh, okay, I can open these doors, and I did. And then I'm like, oh, Christmas duck. Okay, cool. I pick it up. There's the key. It's like,
yeah.
all right, well, cool, I guess. Found that immediately.
So that's
yeah.
I mean, like that's the gist of the game. Is basically you're poking around the house.
Yeah.
That essentially.
Oh,
I mean, I guess. I'm sorry.
Isn't it like your parents had moved into that house or something?
Well, yeah. So
it is technically like a new house to you.
Yes,
because
correct.
you were gone when they moved.
You've never lived there. You can't say you like came home as if you like were living there. You've been abroad for months. So
yeah, months.
In that
I'm
time,
sure at least a full school year.
Yeah, in this time, your parents and your sister have moved into this house, which you find out later it was owned. It's in the family.
Yeah.
So it's not like they bought something. It was given to them essentially.
Yeah, it was willed to them
by your character's uncle. Which is a part of the story, which we'll get into. But yeah, so like this is the idea is you're coming into this house completely unknowing, I guess you could say. You don't
where
really,
everything is. Yeah, you're just like exploring the house because you've never been there.
Yeah. But yeah, and so I mean, I guess we can talk about the graphics and music. I don't really feel like there's a lot to talk about.
No, this is like, classic Unreal.
I don't even know if it's Unreal. I'm gonna be
I
honest.
I don't know.
I would have
It
to
might
I would have
be.
to look it up, but it's um Gone Home.
Yeah, look it up.
Let's see.
I don't know. I mean, they were
Engine.
pretty
Yeah, no, this is just like
smooth.
this is like stock Unity
Oh, it was
stuff.
Unity? Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty
Good.
sure it pops up in the front. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this wasn't Unreal. It'd be a lot
It would be a
crisper if it
lot
was
shinier, I guess, if it
if it
was an
was
Unreal. You're
Unreal,
right.
yeah.
Oh, Unity. Okay, that's fine. I mean, Unity looks good too sometimes.
I mean, it looks fine. I really want to stress fine. It doesn't look like amazing.
No.
It looks fine. I have absolutely zero complaints about the graphics
I don't
because
either. It looked okay I mean, it's not what's important.
yeah, because
So,
this is just a an interactive like story. You're not really here
interactive
for
book,
the
basically.
yeah. I mean, there are tons of repeat textures. It's like a lot of
A lot of the in the drawer textures were flat.
yeah
Like
yeah, exactly.
the dressers were all the textures inside the drawers were like flat or semi-flat.
Right. Yeah,
It's fine.
it's
I
not
mean,
really
okay.
it's not really impressive story wise, so I'm not trying to dwell on it too much.
Graphics wise, you mean?
Or yeah, sorry, graphics wise. uh Music wise, I will say that the sound design in this
The
game was
sound design
good.
was good. There were a few. I guess we should mention every time. There were several places where whenever you're going through this thing, whenever you look at something, you would your sister had left like messages for you, I
Yeah.
guess. And you every time you like looked at something that was important or something, you'd get like an audio message.
Yes.
And she would be talking.
Right.
So
And it would be
and then
a
there
fully
was
voice recorded audio message.
yeah, which was actually like pretty good. And there would be sometimes there would be music playing during that too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out was
But like otherwise, I don't think there was any while you were wandering around the house.
no, it was just the ambient noise of the storm outside.
The storm and the creaking of the house, which was
yeah, house sounds.
yeah, classic house sound. I repeat, it is not a horror game.
Yeah, so like as you're walking around this house, it's definitely very eerie. I will say it's eerie because, the house is shifting, the outside is storming.
I mean, yeah.
Every
It's a
once in a while
storm.
you hear something behind you and you're like, what the fuck is that?
You're
And
like,
then
Jesus fuck.
it's nothing. It's always nothing.
Nothing.
Every
It's
single
always
time.
nothing.
It's always nothing. And so like you're like, why do I keep getting spooked by nothing?
Why do I mean, as if you were going through a spooky house at night in the storm in real life. So
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
like,
I guess it'd be
you
a
know,
little
it
bit
kind of
scary.
hit the nail on the head.
But they added like every once in a while you'd hear like this and it's like, oh my god, Jesus. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
I got
alive.
that a
I
few times
promise
too,
my
and
heart
it's
is
like, all right.
pumping.
This is fine. You just got to remember that, okay, this is not a horror game. Nothing's gonna happen. It's not a horror game.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, the subtle like sort of tone shifting like nature, I guess you could say, of the little like the music that went with the audio recordings.
The audio.
I think
yeah.
it was a nice touch because it kind of puts you in the mindset.
It was like a lighter.
Yeah, whenever she's talking, it kind of gives you the right mindset to be listening to where you're like more at ease.
Yeah.
And less like crapping yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course what you mentioned before we started talking was during the story the sister she's I don't know if she's actually a musician or if she's just friends with a musician.
No, I think she was friends with a musician.
So she's friends with a musician and they make a lot of music and she leaves their tapes around the house. Cassette tapes, yeah.
This
Because it's
I'm pretty
set
sure this
in the
set
90s.
in 1990. 90s
It's like
sometime.
late 80s, 1990s, I believe.
Yeah, I thought it was late 90s or like middle 90s. I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever. It's not like CDs haven't really started. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things that's a point in the story is the dad is testing a VCR
Mm,
uh
yeah.
for like to be reviewed, basically.
Yeah.
Like he sent a brand new VCR, top of the line, like new technology, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's testing it, and so he can give it a review. Which
Mhm.
we'll talk about that here in a minute. The only thing I will want to say about gameplay is there are like, I don't know if there's like technically puzzles.
Uh,
It's just
not
a
not
few
really.
like
It's like
it's
a
like,
few combinations that you need to find pretty much.
yeah, and then
That's the only puzzle there is really. It's like, oh, this safe is locked. Go get the combination for it.
right,
Or
and
this
then
this file
locker.
cabinet's locked. This
Yeah.
locker's locked.
Yeah,
Gotta
and
get this combo.
it's pretty simple. It's not really anything like strenuous. It's just like in your normal search you will
It's pretty
find
much
these
you'll
things.
find them, yeah, exactly. It's like just
Um
you'll just find them while playing the game normally.
yeah, and like they're pretty much necessary to move along the game except the safe, I believe, cuz I
Oh
never
yeah, that
opened it.
I opened it and it doesn't have anything important in it.
Yeah, I didn't
Except for like
I forgot about it until the very end
drugs.
and I was like, "Oh,
I think it has
wait a minute."
like painkiller drugs or like opioids,
Oh,
something
like
like that.
strong ones? Were they like
Something
prescribed to
like that.
anybody specific?
I don't think so. I think the
Maybe
uncle,
the
but I
uncle.
don't think they were prescribed. I think they were. I don't know. I found a bunch of it and then like a syringe, and it's like, okay, well,
Oh.
yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
it's
Okay.
like great. Yeah, that's
Well, we'll
fine.
talk about it. Okay, so let's get into the story. It's a story game, so that's gonna be,
Story game.
we've had our nice little intro talking about the things that don't really matter. Uh Regarding this game, um where should we start? Just like right at the beginning, I
That's the
guess.
beginning. I mean,
So you enter the house
you
and
start.
you're immediately drawn to the left to the big
My God,
open
I was
table.
also drawn to the left. Holy
Well, no,
shit!
I mean the like this is
I mean, it
all
is.
this is all
I
made
mean,
for, regular humans. You're
go to the
drawn to the
left.
left because there's a big table there with a phone on it, and you're like, well, I guess I should go check the messages, right?
Actually, I think I went into the bathroom on the left first.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know. The footage will tell you where I went. Um, you go over to the audio message machine, or the
Mhm.
phone message machine,
Voicemail.
the voicemail of old. I don't know if you were old enough if to remember us having like a message machine.
We had a voicemail
Well, I mean,
message
like
machine.
at some point they integrated that with phones, an
No,
answering
I know.
machine that
I
records,
remember
but
we had a
like,
landline.
yeah, no, I'm saying like at one point they were separate
Oh,
from
I
the
don't remember
phone.
that.
Yeah,
No.
we had them separate from the phone as well. Um,
Nope.
that was a long time ago. I am an old man. um, yeah, and so that's what this is. It's like
A
elder
separate device.
technology. You answer it, and I believe it's your sister or your mom for
Um,
one of them.
no, it's you actually.
Well, I know
The
that's the last message that plays. You in the intro, you're like calling your mom and you're saying your parents. You're saying, "Hey, I'm coming home.
got an early flight home, and
I
I'll be
guess I'm
there.
coming to this address." And
You don't have to pick me up. I'll
yeah,
be there at like midnight or something. I repeat, you don't have to
yeah,
pick me
don't
up.
worry about
Thanks,
me. I'll be
mom.
fine. And
And then
then
that starts it.
yeah, that's at the very beginning. And then but there are messages there
Um,
before.
I don't think it's your mom for the first two because
No,
you find out later who they are from like I think close to the end of the game. You find out.
what do you mean?
You don't remember?
I guess I don't.
Um. All right. We'll get there. I guess.
No, I'm saying who's on the message. Do you remember the name?
It's Lonnie.
Oh, okay. It is Lonnie. Okay.
Those two messages were Lonnie.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to revisit.
Yeah,
Um,
you will.
because we played these a bit separate from each other. Um. Okay, and so you listen to the
But
messages.
yeah,
You're
you
like,
listen
okay,
to
whatever,
those,
and
and
then
then
you hear
hear your own.
yourself. You're like, all right,
You're
cool.
like, okay, that's fine. We heard
And
that one already.
so basically, this is your game. The game's invitation for you to just look around.
Just go look around. There's nobody home.
Okay, you know, and you're looking through, and there's there's a lot of like papers and notepads and
Just
coupon
various
books and
things.
like just items
A lot of crumpled
everywhere.
papers on the floor.
Crumpled
Sometimes
papers everywhere,
just note.
pens and pencils and other writing implements, and you're scrounging through everything. You click open on everything and you look inside and you say, could this be useful? And you read it and
I
you're
don't
like,
know. Whatever
I don't know,
whatever
it
it
could
says,
be,
like
put it back.
whatever is clickable, you click it and pick it up, and like you can look at it and
Right,
put it down. Sometimes whenever you pick something up, it'll play you another audio message from your
right.
sister.
So
And those are the important things, basically.
you're basically fishing for that stuff. um so you go along. I guess we can talk about the sister's story, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam is upset that you've left.
Yeah. I mean, obviously.
She's like, this is bullshit. I don't think that it's fair that you got to leave to go to Europe while I have to stay and live with mom and dad by myself
And go to
and go
high
to a new
school.
school. Yeah, and high school. You know,
Ugh,
I'm
gross.
and then as you're going through this story and how you're like, at first you're thinking, oh, this is just like an angsty teenager who doesn't want to like make new friends because she had old friends, but then you find out it's not actually that. um it's more along the lines of like, something happened in this house that makes everybody
Yeah.
like prejudge her, and you're like,
Apparently,
what's happening here?
something about a this was called the Psycho House
The Psycho House. Yeah, it's
because something happened that we actually don't figure
because
out.
like a crazy person lived here, and you're like,
Yeah, and you're like,
that's
but
a
wait a
weird
minute,
thing to say.
that's weird because this is my uncle's house. You find out later.
Well, yeah, I mean, you find that out later, but as of that, like the beginning of the story, you're like, it's weird that your
Yeah.
parents would move into like a psycho's house out in the middle of nowhere, basically.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that, parents? And you're going along, and
Yeah, and
your sister is
sister's
still
having a hard
having
time.
having a hard time adjusting. She's like, when are you coming home? I wish you just come home. And obviously you're not coming home. She goes and eventually makes a few friends. But one
Mhm.
friend in particular, she takes a real shine to because, she feels like they just get each other. You ever have that friend where like you feel like you just get each other, and that's who we mentioned before, which was Lonnie.
Yeah.
Where Lonnie is just this like punk girl who goes to the arcade, and Sam loves video games. She plays on her Super Nintendo all the time.
Yeah.
Street
Street Fighter specifically.
And she's like, I'm gonna go talk to those girls and say hi and see what's up. And I guess at first she's like, it sucks. I talked to them and it didn't work out. And oh well, like, better luck next time. At least I tried. And then like
Yeah.
the next audio recording, she's like, oh, but wait,
They talked to me.
Lonnie
She
Lonnie
talked to
came
me.
and talked to me at school afterward and said that I was pretty cool and that I should come hang out with them later. And so that's like the start of a beautiful friendship, essentially.
Friendship.
And she, you go along, and I guess you find out that Sam and your parents are not really getting along very well through a lot of context clues, namely ones that are like, stay out of my room,
Yeah,
stop touching my
basically, like,
stuff.
Classic
Oh, but
teenager
wait.
things where it's like, you know,
Yeah, like
Yeah, like
curfews
you
at this
said,
time. If you live in our house, you have to play by our
follow
rules
our
type
rules.
situation.
Yeah,
Um,
etc.
but like obviously, you know, teenagers are teenagers, but there's something like there's something strange in like parent town, I guess you could say. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
Like not everything is like
I
not
think
everything is roses and happy things. The your dad is a writer.
he's like a conspiracy theorist too.
He's like a conspiracy theorist who
Uh,
writes like alternate history
he's like
novels.
obsessed with like JFK and that
Yeah.
shenanigans.
Well, and
So it's like
that strikes us as really strange, but like if you remember, this is in like the late
this is the like late 90s,
80s.
so it's
Yeah.
like
It wasn't so far removed.
yeah, it probably like you know
I mean, I'm terrible at history, but
I'm
when did
also terrible at
JFK get
history.
assassinated?
I don't remember, but it would had to have been like in you
Oh,
know
wait a minute. No, not JFK Jr.
no
JFK.
JFK.
1963. Of course it was 1963. I should have
Oh
known that.
well, I'm pretty sure that it was like
But
way
regardless, your dad
this happened way
is,
after that. This was set in that
you
in
know,
the 90s.
so imagine it like this where um your sister's like 16 or 17 in the 90s, so almost 20 years earlier is this like early 70s, and
Yeah.
then your parents are what, teenagers in their 20s at that point,
Mhm.
if not older, because you're the older sister. And so they lived through this was something that happened in their like
Their time, their
teenagehood.
lifetime.
This is a
Yeah.
political event that shaped their I don't know, like teenage to young adult mind, right?
Mhm.
And so, or at least his. I don't know about your mom's necessarily.
I don't
um
know if there was much to see about the mom.
oh really?
I don't
I
know.
guess you didn't read enough, because there's plenty of things going on with the mom.
I mean, there was a lot of like paragraphs of text, like walls of text that I just didn't
Oh,
read.
all right. Well,
Like
I'll tell
I
you.
think there were a few. I think there were a few like letters from friends that was addressed to the mom, and I just didn't read them.
Okay.
'Cause
All
I'm like,
right.
that's a lot of cursive wall of text, and I just don't want to read that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Don't worry. It's okay. There is quite a bit going on with the
Okay,
mom.
that's good.
But I just want to cap it off with
Yeah.
finishing the dad's story of what, or at least what I got from the dad's story. So
Mhm.
as you said, he's a political, an alternate history political conspiracy theorist. And so
Yeah.
he writes these novels, and he had great success when they first came out, but he's written a lot of them. And his publisher over time, you find, has dropped him, and he has run into an issue where nobody wants to publish his anything, and he's out of a job, which means, that's not great.
No, it's not.
And so he talks to one of his publishing friends who gets him a job to be a electronics reviewer,
Yeah.
which is where the VCR comes in. He was sent a VCR to be reviewed, and you find out that job is also looking rocky because there are several notes from the person who runs the review, like magazine, I guess you could say, saying like, "Hey, you were given like a half a page. You need to keep it under 500 words, and you keep sending me 3,000 words. What am I supposed to do with this?"
Yeah.
So like clearly
I
your
think
dad
I think I
is
skimmed through that.
very, verbose. He's
He's
very wordy.
very
He loves
yeah.
talking.
Which also makes sense because
Well,
Sam
yeah.
and like eventually becomes a also likes creative writing.
Yes. That
She
is
she used to
definitely
she would write stories when she was younger.
Yeah, you
That makes
I
a
was
lot of
going
sense.
to I was gonna get to that
I was
in
gonna
just a
segue into
little.
that. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't really have a necessarily a structure to this, but I was just gonna talk about the stories that she wrote when she was younger when talking about Lonnie. Because I think those the person who wrote this definitely like tied those two things together, like her friendship with Lonnie and these stories that she's been writing since she was a child. And then ultimately the core of the story, which obviously we'll get to at the very end. Which, spoiler alert, there will be we are going to be telling the ending. Anyway, so the dad is again going through issues, and then towards the end of the game, you find out that actually there are other weirdos, they call themselves, like other political conspiracy theorists who like to publish weird books like his. They want to do a reprinting, which explains why throughout the entire game there are just boxes and boxes and boxes of your dad's books.
Yeah,
just everywhere, right?
Yep.
Which is great, you can tell by the leavings in his office and in various other places, such as the garden. It's like an indoor like greenhouse
like
garden,
a greenhouse kind of thing. Yeah,
that your dad has been like hard at work, shoving his head directly like all the way into the sand, and he's writing more, right? He's like, I got like people are interested again. I got to put out the next great American novel, right? I've got to do it. And so he's been hard at work trying to do that. And that's fine. I think that's a great ending to his story. I don't believe there was much else with the dad, but that is to say he's been basically ignoring Sam, your sister, has been ignoring your mom, whose name I don't remember because I don't remember either of their names.
I don't remember either. You see him on the picture at the start, and then I immediately forgot.
I want to say maybe Walter's the dad. I don't remember the mom's name.
I don't remember.
Anyway, so yeah, that's an ending to Dad's story. He's happy, but everyone around him maybe less so. And then that leads into the mom's story, which she's like a mountain park ranger.
Oh yeah, she's
And so
park ranger.
Yeah, and so whenever they moved out here, it was basically on condition that she was able to work at a nearby like park, like preserve. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, great, perfect. Through investigation, you find out that she gets a promotion, which she's super happy about, right?
I got that. I saw that.
And so like things are great. Whether the dad's struggling, the mom is definitely, succeeding early on.
Yeah.
As you said, you see lots of letters. Chat and letters back and forth between her friend who she moved away from, talking about, like how are the kids, how's the job, congrats on getting this promotion, yada yada yada. You find in their bedroom signs of like kind of an empty, going through the motions type marriage, where there are books of like how to reignite the spark in your relationship.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Like under the bed. The note to her friend, I keep wanting to say email, but it's not an email. It's literally a snail mail.
Literally a letter.
The letter from her friend is being like, I mean, yeah, me and my husband also had this problem, but we fixed it by going to counseling and like reading more about this. Like, here, this is my copy. You should read it. And then you find the copy of that book like right next to it. So it's like, oh, okay, so there's trouble in paradise.
Yeah.
Your parents are not getting along, or it's not even that they're not getting along. It's that like they're pulling away from each other. They're becoming
They're
distant.
probably involved in their jobs and etc.
Well,
Not being
yeah,
so attentive to each other.
yeah, and that can erode a relationship just as well as constant fighting or whatever else.
Yeah.
Um,
Gotta have a
so I don't
balance.
know if this is something you might have missed it or you saw it and didn't understand. But there is a few official documents of the mom giving glowing recommendations to one of her or to her superior about one of her subordinates. And just looking at that on the faces, it probably doesn't really make any sense. Like, who
I
cares?
don't remember if I saw any of that. I
Um,
probably just like picked it up
you're
and
like,
put it
okay,
back
what?
down.
Who cares about this? It's more of her like work, like papers.
Just like work related stuff, and it's like, whatever.
But here's the
I'm not
thing:
interested in that.
this is slightly important because the subordinate of hers is uh a man who she ends up going to a concert with. Um,
Oh,
so the way it ends up is one of the letters to her friends is basically like, "Hey, um, I don't remember his name, like Jack or some. It was some like really generic name. Gave
yeah.
me tickets to go see this band. Um, and he wants to go with me because his fiance doesn't like the music and doesn't want to go with him. Should I go? It seems like it will be a fun time, but I don't know if I'm like like
You know,
being
if
the
I if
being
I
the
should.
yeah, I don't know if I should." And her friends like, I mean, the last letter we talked about seems like you and your husband are not doing well, so and I think that guy is cute, so I think you should. And the mom's like, "Okay, I'll do that."
Hmm,
Um
interesting.
a bunch of other things that like heavily imply like heavily imply that the uh like she either cheated on the dad or like it's an emotional affair
Yeah.
um with this guy. She gets him a promotion and then like they both get a promotion and they both move to another park that's like an hour away. And so like the mom is gone just more often. She
Oh
has
yeah.
an hour commute
I think I
and
saw a little bit of that, but
right. And so she made the choice to go with him. Right.
yeah.
So she's out there with him a lot. Um, I believe that the story ends that they don't really end up doing anything, whether it was like a quick, short little affair, little romp at some point, but there is a wedding invitation on the refrigerator once you finally get to that point.
Hmm.
That is that guy's wedding to his fiance. So,
Okay.
you know, your mom and
Yeah, I
her
saw that,
family
and
was
it's
invited
like,
to the wedding.
and then on that, I think you find out as well why the parents are not home is like because I think they were like out on an anniversary trip or something.
They are going to an anniversary trip. You find that shortly after that area. But the anniversary trip is a like couples therapy getaway. Uh,
Yeah, something.
that is billed basically disguised as like, oh, we're going to the Bahamas or something like that. We're going to some
I don't know.
tropical area.
I thought it was like a 3 day thing that they.
It's like a 2 week thing.
Okay,
It
whatever.
was it was
I don't
long. It
know.
was a long
It was.
time.
They said it. It was like on the calendar on the side of the fridge or something. It was like,
Yeah,
uh, anniversary trip this time, this day to this day, and it's just like, okay, well, that's why the parents aren't home when I get home.
right. Well, it kind of makes sense that it would be long, because everything else in the house has to have happened like over the span of a couple of weeks. You know.
Well, yeah, as I said, it's like it's during a whole school year.
Well, No.
No, because if you remember, the first audio message you get from Sam is like about her first day of school.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right. But
I
the
mean,
thing is,
unless it's technically her first day of school, and meaning that she just transferred to that school, and it's like her
no.
first day in a new school. I don't know.
No, okay, so here's okay, so we'll go back to the sisters timeline. So all the things that we said that we talked about up till like talking about the mom and the dad, those were all the things that happened at the very beginning of the school year. And
Mhm.
then like events start taking place like very rapidly.
Yeah,
And so it's not that like they moved there and then 2 weeks of the school year and then these events happened. It was like, yes, over the school year of Sam going to school and like seeing all these things happen, but like I guess you could say like the second half of the game all happens like fast, fast,
yeah,
fast.
I'm pretty sure because they talk about graduation at one point,
Yeah, they talk about graduation,
which is like close to the end of the game.
but like talking about all the things with Lonnie in the house, those are all things where while their parents are gone.
Is it? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because there was one thing I remember about Thanksgiving and
Yep.
um
Thanksgiving and then Christmas at
like Christmas,
yeah.
and then the point when you get to the kitchen is like the parents leave a message to Sam saying, um, like you'll be home. There's money on the table for pizza, etc.
Yeah. And you find pizzas everywhere.
And you find pizzas everywhere.
um Pizza and sodas basically. Which makes sense. I mean, she's a teenager, so whatever.
Yeah, what else
She
would you
eats
do?
what she wants.
Especially when your parents aren't home.
So Sam and Lonnie start spending a lot of time together, going
Hmm.
to shows, going to like playing video games together, and then it gets to a point where like Lonnie and her are like they're cutting classes and spending a lot of time together at like just somewhere. And then they get close enough to where Lonnie is just like over at Sam's house like every day.
Yeah.
They're getting really close, like really, really close, and
Hmm.
she's talking about how, you know, like, wait a minute, like I might like this girl, like this girl, but I don't know if
Yeah.
she feels the same way. Um,
Yep.
and you gotta remember, like the 1980s, 1990s are not the same thing as you
As
know
now.
the 2010s, the 2000s and 2020s where like you know anybody can be gay and like who cares, right?
Yeah.
There was definitely quite a lot of stigma back then. I mean, some would argue that like there's still definitely a stigma, but I would definitely argue that like people give less of a shit now than they ever
Yeah.
have, basically. So
Yeah.
like be gay, enjoy yourself, like who cares, right? um so there is I guess you could say like a sort of a moment where um they're like in I think they're in Sam's room.
I think in Sam's room or
Yeah,
something.
and they end up and Sam basically confesses her feelings to
Yeah.
Lonnie, and
To
then Lonnie
Lonnie.
just leaves. She
She
just doesn't
just
say
like
anything.
freezes up or something,
Yeah, and she
and
becomes
leaves.
really distant and like stops talking to her for a few days, and so you get like these panicked, like hugely
Sam,
panicked, uh, like I think it's like one or two,
like audios that's like Sam freaking out.
yeah, Sam freaking out like I ruined it. Everything is bad. This is just like this is I guess like this is why I can't have nice things, basically.
Yeah.
um until like Lonnie eventually comes back and
And
is like,
she says
"Hey,
this.
I had to think about it for a while, but I also like you." And they kiss and make up, basically.
Literally.
Literally. Yeah, and like it's just a like, I guess you could really summarize the like latter half of the game as like this slide into like Sam is the happiest she's ever been, but also the most upset and angry she's ever been. But I wanna like step back one step and say, talk about Lonnie's like her creative writing. I don't want to say career, but like aspirations.
Not Lonnie's creative
writing. Oh, sorry,
writing,
not Lonnie's. Sam's creative writing aspirations. You see it pretty early when you find her her like, homework.
Her like she has like 4-year-old. When she was a 4-year-old, she had like stories that she's written.
Oh, I mean, even before that, you find her homework.
Yeah.
That was her in like middle school or something.
Yeah,
writing a story about like female reproduction or the period or something like that.
Well, that's homework.
And
but I was just saying I guess that one was a pretty creative writing.
Well, what I'm saying is you find that first. And then you find the progression of the captain and their first mate story later.
Yeah, but I thought there was one like there's that, but like I'm pretty sure there was a story that she wrote about a captain like that, but when she was
4,
really young.
Yeah. I'm just saying you didn't find that until a little bit later.
And then she has later ones where she did it while she was in her creative writing classes about the same kind of story.
Well, it is the same story. It's just developed over the years. It's
because
refined.
She's gotten better at it.
It's a fantasy world about a pirate captain and their first mate. Essentially, is like the gist of it. And
they find the end of the world or something.
Yeah, they're trying to find the end of the world, which is great. It doesn't really like that part doesn't really matter. It's the thing that it's about is the companionship that this captain and their first mate have with each other, and that's what really gets emphasized as you see like more and more iterations of this story. Because you see like 4 or 5 different iterations, whether that's like her at 4 years old or her at 17 writing several pages for one chapter. It's there's many different iterations. And the thing that I found interesting about this particular thread is that it's a sort of window into Sam's mind and how she feels whenever she writes about this character, right? Because she styles herself as the captain. This captain is her self-insert. And if you notice, whenever she's younger, the captain is a boy.
Okay.
And you're probably like, okay, so what's that matter? Obviously the character's gay, right? She's a lesbian. Yeah. She doesn't really like boys, but you can track with the stories when she realized that she was gay, is what I'm getting at. And like, it was pretty early in her life. She was like 10 or 11. And so like, this puts her moving to a new place and having to make new friends and, becoming a teenager and like a late teenager and, all the difficulties that go with that. It puts all those things into context of like, yes, this is hard, but for her, it's actually it's like harder because she actually has to just, she's got to really hide herself. Yeah. She's hiding in the closet, closeted away from her parents, from her sister, from all of her friends in the past and all her friends in the future. And speaking of friends in the past, I don't know if you remember, but she did have a friend in the past
it was like
Super Nintendo she was like she like stole basically. She was borrowing and then moved out with it.
Yeah, the Danny, I think.
I think
Daniel.
I think his name was Danny. It doesn't matter, but she
Uh,
was best friends with him, right?
best friends. I'm pretty sure she says she was not best friends several times, but that's okay.
Yeah, but I think I'm gonna be honest. I think that's like all cope.
Yeah, probably.
Like I think that she was best friends with him, and like even to the point of convincing herself that she liked him, and then realized that
Okay.
she didn't. And then she did like a full 180 and reversed out of that situation. But yeah, and so she basically reversed out of that like relationship, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Well, she tried to get away by moving.
Well, she didn't like intend to move, but it
No, I
happened.
know, but she was okay with it.
But I
Pretty
mean,
sure.
the thing that I'm sort of pointing out is that there are many like paper messages from her parents saying, "Hey, Danny called. He wants to talk to you. Hey, Danny called. He wants his game back. Hey, Danny called. Why don't you return his calls ever?
Yeah.
He called. Please call him back." And then eventually, towards the end of the game, you find a message that's like, it's an audio log that was like, I believe it was like, Danny came to get his game, and like he finally came and got it.
Yeah.
And whenever he got here, I gave it back to him, and I think the line was something along the lines of like, and before he left, I I think it was like, what was it? It was something that hit me pretty hard. It was pretty profound. Um it was like, what happened to us? Like, why aren't we friends anymore? I think he
Oh,
said.
okay.
And then she's like, and then all at once it hit me that like, I don't know. And then she cried, and he basically just left. And so that tells
Yeah.
me that like, it
Did
wasn't
I not? Did I not see that one?
it wasn't something that she or it wasn't something that he did. Like, he wanted to be friends with her. He
Yeah.
thought she was cool and wanted to like keep being friends even though they moved away,
Hmm.
right?
I don't
But
think I got that one.
she
Weirdly
was the
enough.
one that reversed in the relationship and cut him off, basically.
Yeah. She like left and then tried not to talk to him ever again.
Right. And so like, I think this is like around the same time that she sort of like discovers something about herself, and
Yeah.
like
You know.
she's gotta like figure herself out, and then she's just like, I have to leave all that shit behind me.
Yeah.
Basically, I think I that's what I'm reading into it. I could be wrong, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's right.
I think it's open to interpretation, I suppose.
Um, yeah.
Um. But yeah. Then later we get to like the end of the school year.
Oh yes.
Sam finds out what Lonnie wants to do after
Yeah.
school.
This is like the end of the game.
The end of the game,
Um,
basically. So it's like, Lonnie wants to go into the military.
yeah. Lonnie's been essentially
So
doing the training to go into the
she
military.
has to tell Sam that they basically won't be able to see each other anymore.
Right. Like, you
And
can't do that in the military. Don't ask, don't tell was still a thing.
yeah,
Um,
and obviously Sam was devastated.
yeah, because at that point it was like just her gushing about how like she and it was like
What?
Sam and Lonnie to the end. It was Sam and Lonnie, ride or die. No matter
Yeah.
what,
Yep.
they were going to be together for the rest of their lives. Like, through
Yeah.
everything, it didn't matter.
Mhm.
She is like, I love her so much, and I will do anything for her.
And to the exact words, I cannot live without Lonnie.
Correct. Yes. Which it kind of brings us to Tim's
Um,
contention with me.
I will call him out on this because he's a little fucker.
So
Um, so we
Tim's
get to
texting me
we get
about this game. He's like, "Is this a horror game?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Well, because like it kind
see,
of
it has
feels like
kind of feels like it could be, you
Yeah,
know?
it
And it's
kind of
like
feels like at the end of the
I feel
game
like
I'm
I'm walking
gonna
around, I'm gonna find like a body is hanging from the ceiling,
yeah, and
and then he like reverts to something, saying something else. I'm like,
yeah, I just
I'm
completely
not gonna
dodged the
find a
question.
body hanging from the ceiling, am I? And he completely like dodges the question. And at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, so he's just gonna fucking dodge my question,
Yes,
and
correct.
that means it's a yes.
And then he's
And then
like,
I'm just on edge for the entire fucking game.
well,
Because
and
I'm
I
just
told
gonna
you
open one of
after.
these doors, and it's just gonna be like, okay, well, that's nice to
It's gonna
see.
be
Great,
Doki Doki Literature Club all
fucking
over
thanks,
again.
thanks.
No, I told you whenever
And
you finished it, because you were big raging at me, and I was like, listen,
yeah,
I had the exact same feeling when I was going through this game, where like there's a point where Sam gets the news that she's not going to be able to spend any time with Lonnie ever again.
yeah.
Like,
And then I'm pretty sure they like, because Lonnie becomes the singer for whatever like local like their like friend
yeah,
group
it
band.
was just a band that was like a bunch
Um,
of guys
I think it
making
was
music.
their friend group, like Lonnie's friends.
Yeah, whatever it was.
And so she becomes a singer, and she dedicates a song to Sam.
Yeah,
So it was like that's obviously very, very emotional. And then like the whole thing where they're not going to be able to see each other ever because she's going to the military, blah blah blah, after graduation.
yeah, it's just like horrible. Like I want to say it's like
Like
3 audio logs,
three
downward
or four.
spiral of like doom, gloom. Everything is bad, and then you get the key to the
The attic, which
attic.
by the way had red lights around it because it was like an indicator of
It's a dark room.
the sign said do not enter while lights are on because it was a dark room.
Yeah,
Use it as
because
a
if you
dark
go
room
in there,
to
it'll
develop.
be yeah,
You'll ruin the pictures.
you'll ruin the pictures, right? And
But
so
they're the lights around it were like red lights, and usually in like
yeah, it was like a
a
dark
dark
hallway
and it's like,
with
oh,
red
okay,
lights, super ominous.
super ominous. That's
And I'm
fine.
like, okay, so what am I gonna find when I go up these stairs? I'm like, what did you do, Sam? What did you do? Tell me what you did. And then you get up the stairs, and we've entered spoiler territory ages ago. I
Oh yeah,
warned you, like,
we warned you at the
this is
beginning
the end
of
of the
this.
game, okay? This is
is
your
the end of the
last
game.
chance.
And at this point, you're going up the stairs, the attic,
like,
and you're like,
listen, at
you're
this
like
point,
looking.
no, I mean,
for
I will say at this point, if you've listened to all this, like, you've played the game basically, right?
yeah.
There's probably like you can go play the game and experience it
Go play
yourself.
the game. It's not long.
Yeah, it's
like
not
2
long.
hours.
2 hours at most. And then
But yeah, you're like
so you go up these
looking
stairs,
out, like creeping up the stairs, like ready, hyping, like psyching yourself up to see
something horrible.
Yeah,
And then you get up there and it's just pictures.
it's just pictures, and it's like then the last audio message is like, something along the lines of, Lonnie called 3 times trying to get a hold of me, and I managed to get the third one, and that's what you find out who that was on the message
Right.
receiver message voicemail machine.
Yeah. And
Was
she's
trying
basically
to call
like,
for
I
Sam,
couldn't do
she's
it.
like, I couldn't go to the military. Pack up what you can and drive out. Find me. I'm in this location. Or like she sends the location, and we'll just keep driving.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave.
Just gonna
We're
leave
just gonna
together
go
and
and
keep driving.
Yeah. And then that's the end.
And that's it.
And like,
And it's like an enormous relief.
yeah, I was like, it's such
Like
a good ending.
Like an absolute like buttload of relief that it comes off our shoulders when you find this out.
Well, and like, I think that was intentional by the devs.
I mean, I think it was too, but like you didn't help.
You're not wrong. I wasn't trying to make this easy on you.
I probably would have felt it regardless, but like I felt it a lot earlier than I should have.
I don't know. I was getting a lot of apprehension.
Fuck you.
I'm just saying, I had a lot of apprehension, pretty early, because like
I mean, yeah,
I
whatever.
so like there's a certain point where like Sam is having a great time, but you're just getting the end of the mom and dad's
Yeah, it's
stories.
like
And so
you
like
find out she's having a great time at the like middle of the game because
from
like
from my perspective, the world's crashing down around Sam, but she doesn't know it, right?
yeah,
Her parents are going through some shit. Her dad's ignoring her. Her mom is cheating on her dad and like basically making it so that that relationship's going to blow up. And so
mhm,
I'm seeing these like red flags. And so I'm like some shit is going to happen in this game. And
yeah,
so I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen? And then once that shoe drops of like, oh, Lonnie said that she's not coming
she's
home.
not. Yeah,
I'm
she's
like,
not going to the
oh,
military, and it's like, oh no,
okay. And so my dread started way back there. Okay.
yeah,
So like yeah, yeah, that was it was a solid like
it was a whole time, a whole
a
time,
whole
you
half the
know?
game, maybe a whole third of the game, maybe a little bit longer. You see what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it was a while.
I guess.
Um
Whatever.
I think that games that are able to make you feel things such as, you know, compassion, emotion,
Yeah,
attachment, apprehension, these sorts of like really complex emotions are the better stories.
yeah. I mean,
If you look at it
obviously,
on the face, it's a very simple story of a girl coming out of the closet basically
yeah,
and
and
saying
finding like it's a love story
it's
basically.
a yeah, it's a coming of age story about a girl who it feels like an outcast but finds
She
her
like
people.
basically sees Lonnie and is in love with her at first sight, almost.
Yeah, basically. But
Almost,
but
because
you
she
understand. It's
that does
she
happen.
finds her people. That's what she's
She like
doing.
sees Lonnie and is like, "OMG, she's really cool. I
Yeah,
want to talk to her so bad."
right.
I'm
Well,
pretty sure
yeah. I
that is
mean,
actually in one of the
I
messages.
think something like that.
It's like, "Oh, I want to talk to her, like actually so bad.
Um,
I don't know how to, but I want to."
one of the final things between that you find between Lonnie and Sam that is not an audio message is basically like, "Hey, we're going to Halloween. Do you want to be my first mate?" And Lonnie says like, "Fuck yeah." Basically. And so
Yeah,
like you can see that sort of uh that extra storyline about the fantasy story that she's been writing
yeah,
um is
comes
it
into
sort of
play.
comes to a head with like this
Hmm.
is she's been writing this story about basically herself and
Her entire
wanting that
life.
one special somebody, and then like
She
this is
finally finds it.
yeah, she finally finds it, and then things happen. So
Did you find the 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 very specific creative writing piece?
the very specific one, which one?
It's the one in the like the basement bathroom, I
Is it
think.
your character's same homework?
No, I know that you see that, but I mean the one that Sam wrote about her and Lonnie.
Oh, that you weren't that you
That your character like picks up and
reads, but
reads
then is
for a
like,
few
"Oh,
lines,
wait,
and
I'm
then
not
it's like
finishing that."
puts it down. And it's like I'm not
Yeah.
reading the rest of that, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, she
okay,
wrote
well,
like NSFW about her
yeah,
and her girlfriend.
yeah, and it's like, okay,
It was very funny cuz I
yeah, it
only
was
read
funny.
like the first line because I was like distracted by a cat or something, and then like it's a timed event, so you click on it and then like they expect you to get right to the point where like it starts getting spicy, and
It literally was timed perfectly. I
she's
got
like,
to the
"Oh my
point where
gosh,
it's
I
like
can't finish this."
I read like uh to the point where it was like well, me and Lonnie were like on the couch and making out, and then the character puts it down. It's like I'm not reading the rest of that. It's like, you
And
know
then you
what?
try to pick it back up and it's like, "Nope, not doing
Nope,
that."
nope, nope, not reading that. And it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it was so perfectly timed because like as a player you get to the same point, and it's just like, oh, okay, put that down,
Yeah.
put that
Um
back. I'm not reading that.
I guess there are some other things that are worth mentioning. You find out that the uncle was he was essentially like a drug
Wasn't-
addict and alcoholic who made a lot of bad
Yeah.
decisions. And he basically killed himself in the building that
I
your
think so, but
family lives in.
he willed the house and everything in it, I think, to
Your
his
mom, I
brother.
believe, or your
Or was it
your
mom?
dad. I don't know,
I
whichever
think it was the
one.
dad.
But like suffice to say, he
They were
was a
brothers.
bit of a manic type personality.
Hence
He
the
was doing
Psycho House.
yeah, he was definitely like he wasn't very nice to the people he came across, kind of terrorized townsfolk whenever he went into town. But
I guess we should have mentioned Sam was referred to as the Psycho House girl.
I think you said that quite like toward the beginning.
I don't think we said that specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Whatever, I'll say it again.
I'll say it again.
She was referred to as that, so it's like that's why she wasn't able to make any friends really.
Yeah, that was a part of it, I believe.
Except for Lonnie thought it was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
so
because she's like,
that.
I've always wanted to check out this house. But yeah, so that's just kind of like an aside. I don't really know how much it necessarily adds. It's just kind of like another layer to the situation. You know, the uncle didn't really have good
like background stuff. That
Yeah.
adds details.
Yeah, like go play this game. It's only a couple of bucks, I believe, on like Steam or
Epic
Games.
Obviously, we
Well,
got
it's
this
15
free.
bucks. Okay, it's 15 bucks.
Is it worth the 15?
Is it worth the 15 bucks? I don't know. If you ever see it on sale, I would recommend picking it up
Yeah,
on sale.
on sale. I don't think it's worth the full 15 because it's not long enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great story. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily worth the 15 bucks.
The length is not
like this is
worth
not
the $15.
Firewatch. Firewatch was a 4-hour game that was like 100% worth the money.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
haven't played that yet.
that's okay. You'll get there.
I have it though. I'm doing it eventually.
But yeah, I would say that
Yeah.
this is like it's like an 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say 8 out of 10. You read
Like
my
there
mind.
were definitely a lot of like really cool like nods to the era, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
There were a lot of like cool type things like that. I you know, there's not a whole lot of
A lot of like just visual details of like posters and
right,
etc.
there was a lot of care put into this game. You can tell.
Yeah.
I think that this game is well worth the time if you have it already from the Epic Games Store.
Mhm.
Go play it. You know, it's a 2-hour jaunt. It's very nice. It definitely is a walking simulator.
Literally,
there's a lot to explore. So
it's more of a point and click.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a point and click, but like combined with walking simulator, I guess.
I don't think there's too much else to say. Go play the game.
Either. Go play it.
What is our next game?
Our next game is Gods Will Fall.
Yes, Gods Will Fall.
And yep, it's like a hack and slash, I guess.
I guess something like that. Hack and slash with like yeah. It looks vaguely
kind of
Gaelic.
Top down.
Yeah.
Like
anyway, you'll see next
I want to say isometric, but I don't know.
Kinda. It's like a dungeon crawler, I guess. So,
kinda, yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, that's that. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.